Welcome back to the broadcast. Well, if you're a stay-at-home mom, listen up because you could be running a business before you know it. I love this segment. Jon Acuff, author of the New York Times bestseller Start, joins us now via satellite with more. Jon, welcome back to the show. So glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Okay, so let's talk about mompreneurs.
Yeah, this is the largest growth of entrepreneurs we've seen in years and years. And it's moms that are realizing they have a product, they have a service, they have an idea, and with social media, they can market it for free. And so it's really exciting right now for stay-at-home moms.
So, Jon, here's the thing. As a mom and a working mom who's started things on the side, I think the hardest thing is finding the time to actually start and then really not knowing where to start because there's so much information. And so how do we assimilate the information and sort of like put ourselves on some kind of a schedule to get it all done?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you do a time audit. You go, where's my time really going? You take 3 days and go, okay, I'm going to journal where my time is actually going. I think a lot of times we're surprised. And so you figure out, how do I rescue 30 minutes? And then figuring out where to start. Here's the problem. It's right, there's so many different topics you can start on, but most people will go, I don't know where to start, so I just won't start anywhere. And if you won't start on any, you fail at every. So I always tell moms, start on the wrong one. Just get some motion. You can't steer a boat from the shore.
Okay, so give us a few practical tips on where to start. And I appreciate what you're saying, like start with something, but there's probably a smart way to sanction your time out for things. Would you suggest them starting with starting to put down on paper or on the computer a business plan of where they see this business of theirs going?
Yeah, I think a business plan, just even that phrase can be intimidating sometimes. So what I'd say is, what gives you the most joy? A lot of times, the talent we have the hardest time recognizing is our own. So I'll work with moms and they'll say, I don't have any passion. I'll go, well, how'd you spend your week? And they'll say, I organized a party for my friend and I had all these favors and it had a theme and it had this consistent brand throughout. And I go, wait a second. You already have something you're interested in.
Right.
And so, I met a mom in Dallas that said, I sell hair bows online. I said, that's great. She said, I sold 70,000 last year at about $4 a piece. So prior to that business, she was really interested in making hair bows. So a lot of times the first step is to go, what are you currently doing that might even be a business that you just can't see right now?
Would you recommend enlisting the advice of an attorney?
I think the first thing you need to enlist is the advice of a mirror friend. And a mirror friend is somebody who can reflect the truth back on you. Again, a lot of moms, the first hurdle they face is fear. They hear this voice say, you're just a mom, you don't get to do that. So I think the first thing you need is you need friends, and you also need a spouse that hopefully can help you support that.
Yeah, because there is the other side to a business, which is, for instance, I'm real good at the creative stuff, at creating a product or something like that. But the back end of it, the actual business end, is where a lot of us fall short because we really just don't know how to do all that stuff. So, are there tips in your book to help us with that?
Certainly, there's tips and there's also services. Think about the opportunity we have right now. Let's take that woman in Dallas, for instance. How in 1988 is she selling 70,000 of anything in a year? That's a lot of doors to knock on. And then she goes in and says, will you call your friends on the phone, which is attached to your house? Right now, she's doing offshore development. And so there's so many opportunities. There's websites, there's resources. And so you're exactly right. You don't have to wear every hat. Don't be intimidated by that. You can get a virtual assistant really easily right now. So there's a whole lot of things that other people can do for you once you have some momentum.
Yeah, everything is different now because of the internet, isn't it?
Yet you have opportunities that you've never had before. And so I really encourage people to try it. Again, moms, don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you have to have a business on day two. Take a passion and figure out, would more people be interested in this? You see that on Pinterest, you see that on Facebook, you see that on Instagram. So there's some ways to do it now that are really unique to our culture.
And Jon, you talk a lot in your book about fear, about how some of us, like you said at the beginning of this interview, that sometimes we just won't start because we don't know where to start, or it's so intimidating that we're fearful. So how do we get over that?
Well, there's three things you do. Number one, you write your fears down. In your head, fear is big and loud and creative. It's a bully. You put it on a piece of paper, you can see that it's not true. Number two, you refute it with truth. You don't argue with it. You don't get tangled. But if fear tells you on a Monday morning, you like today, the week's already over. You've already ruined your week. You write down and say, no, I have my whole week ahead of me. And number three, you share it. What fear fears is community. And so you have people in your life that love you enough to tell you things you might like to hear. And always remember that the worst place to put your spouse is on the opposite side of your business. Because the harder you push into it, the further you push that spouse away. So dreaming is a great team sport.
Wow, that's a really huge win, John. So before I let you go, repeat that one again about not putting your spouse on the outside, because I think a lot of us do that.
Sure, the worst place you can put your spouse is on the opposite side of your dream, because the harder you push into it, the further you push them away. So the first thing you need to do is give them grace. Your husband won't understand your dream 100%, or it would be his dream. You've thought about this for years. Give him a chance to come alongside you and understand.
And give what he can give to the whole project. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, John has much more advice on his website. You can get to that by going to dthebroadcast.tv. Just click on today's links.